am Don Gaddis. I'm a artist and writer, 2 webcomics, Sparky the Sassy Android and Dapper Men in Love. And I've also written a prose novel, Portraits of Familiar Strangers. And I also have a graphic novel, A Home Without. Probably, oh gosh, I think it was a love of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original series that got me into comic books. I had a friend and he had given me some nunchucks one year for my birthday. I was afraid that I was going to injure myself severely. I tried for a little while to convince myself that I was the master of invisibility and the master of ninjutsu, but that was not in the cards, so I went down the artist route instead. It was a much better job opportunity for me. It's a graphic novel. It's a story about River, a young gay boy coming of age in the Bible Belt, North Georgia, and he is in the middle of a household that is in chaos. There's some domestic violence, going on throughout the book, and essentially the children in the story, by the end of the story, they've come into the role of the parents. The roots of that story started around 1999, 2000. I can't believe it's been that long ago, but about 20 years ago. I read Blankets. That was the first slice of life story in comic book form that I had read. I remember just really loving Craig Thompson's story. I mean, that really struck a chord with me. So during my tenure at the Savannah College of Art and Design, I started writing, slice of life stories. I was getting a lot of encouragement from my teachers, Mark Neese and Bob Pendarvis. Around about 2005, I had the first quarter of the story that eventually became A Home Without. But then shortly after I wrote that, my father passed away. He passed away just before I graduated, and he is one of the characters who is at the very center of the novel, and a lot of it was very personal. I had to walk away from it. I think it was too close to home. Years afterwards, the film Mysterious Skin came out, and that was based on a book by the author Scott Heim. That film just really struck a nerve with me. I went to see it maybe 3 times. It's an excellent movie. I mean, it's about an awful thing. It's about child abuse, but it connected with me, with my stories, albeit, with mine, it was concerned with domestic violence. After I saw that movie, myself and the author, we started writing each other, and we became pen pals. We wrote one another for about a year. I think that gave me some confidence to really be able to put something that I had written that was so personal out there into the public realm, corresponding with Scott Heim for all that time. That's really what gave me the confidence boost that an established writer would take the time to do that with somebody. I mean, he had nothing, invested in me. He seemed to like my writing. It's a pretty daunting thing. You start wondering, what are people, going to think? What's your family going to think? I remember Mark Neese, the instructor that I had mentioned. I remember him saying, sometimes people can get angry, especially family members or friends. They can come up to the writer and they can say, why did you put this character in the book? This is obviously me. I was watching some interviews with Alison Bechdel of Fun Home, and she was saying, she was worried about these same things a little bit as well. But at some point, you just kind of have to say to yourself, the book is the book, and you just have to put it out there in the world, and it develops a life of its own, and you just kind of have to let it, do its own thing. Well, for a long time, I struggled between whether to call it autobiographical fiction or whether to call it a memoir. And in the end, I decided on the autobiographical fiction because I would say, in general, most everything is true. there's truth at the heart of each chapter. It's just that as I'm putting the narrative together, I had to move certain things around. There's a later chapter, Rosemary. She's the wife of Mitch, the controlling husband. She finds an unwanted surprise in her purse. In actuality, that happened much, much later. I was probably like 12 years old. It made more sense within the context of the story to have that happen a little bit earlier, like around the midpoint of it. So I would have to move things around a little bit to make for the most interesting story and to have the narrative be cohesive. It's a chapter where River, the young boy, he's probably about 6 or 7 years old at this point. He comes into possession of a puppy. He falls in love with this puppy, and he and his father, they bring it home. It's introduced to the family, and they give it a name. And just a few days later, River and his father Mitch, they're going out just to get something to eat, like a fast food place. The screen door on their porch, it has just like kind of a flimsy lock on it. So they're leaving, and the puppy's going crazy, kind of wanting to get out and get back to River. And River, he can see it that the puppy is gonna get out, and to the point where the kids are the parents. Most anybody would see that and say, okay, I need to do something else with the puppy. This isn't going to work. The puppy's gonna get out and it's gonna get hurt. But Mitch is like, no, it's all right. We're just gonna be gone for a little bit. And so they get in the truck and they go to the fast food place. And of course, while they're gone, bad things happen to the puppy. That was especially difficult because out of all the chapters in the book, that one is the most verbatim, down to a T, all the details. When I was going back and doing revisions and double checking myself and proofreading, whenever I would get to those later points in that particular chapter, I would start really not paying attention to the illustrations too much. I would I would start skimming a little bit because my eyes would start watering up. That's definitely the hardest chapter. There's a scene, and it happens early on. River he's really young. I mean, he might be like 5 or 6 years old, and his father is a produce salesman, and they're going around to different farmers markets. Just a random person walks up, and they're buying watermelons from his father Mitch. An older lady, and she buys some watermelons. As she's walking away, she makes just like this little side comment. She says, "Oh, by the way, I just want to let you know you have the prettiest little girl." And it takes Mitch a little while to kind of register with him. She's talking about my son, and of course, the camera, automatically points to River, and he's got these long, luscious Oscar Wilde locks. And then the very next scene that we cut to, they're in the barber shop, and he's just like a sheep. He's been shorn of his golden locks. Then the very next scene after that, he's jamming out to Cyndi Lauper, to She-Bop, while his sisters are away at school. One of the sisters comes home, and she walks into the room, and of course she sees the brother. He's kind of in, I guess, young drag at this point. He's in like a long nightshirt, and he's gotten into his mother's makeup, and he's dancing around the bed with his brush in his hand, pretending like it's a microphone. That was definitely the most fun. I remember doing things like that. There was some Cyndi Lauper involved. There was some Prince involved at times. One of my sisters walking in on me one time, I was kind of doing my own thing to Jailhouse Rock. One of the things that I would hope that people would connect with is just that feeling of being an outsider, just coming of age in a small southern town where it was extremely conservative, extremely religious. I mean that's hard enough. I mean, a lot of younger gay people, I mean, they end up running away from home, and they're in bad home environments. I hope that this connects with others in that way who might be in a similar situation. When I was young, I remember thinking, this can't be normal. And I would be, around other people in school, and their biggest problem, might be I couldn't get my friend to come over for a pool party. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, my sister just got pushed into a wall, or my mom had a black eye. Especially gay people in the South. It doesn't have to just be in the South. It can be anywhere. You're putting up with a lot of stuff. More often than not, there's probably bullying going on in school. I think you just have a little bit of a harder time in the world. So I hope that it connects with other gay women and men on that level. Other than that, it's just the story has a heart of truth at the center of it. And I think anybody who just likes good stories will connect with it. That truth is there, and I think that people really appreciate that.